everyone. Welcome to the first Lovers Way interview of 2023. My name is Bianca. I'm the Communications Director at Lovers Way. I am so excited today to be joined by Leanne Yong, author of Two Can Play That Game. Hi, Leanne. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Bianca.
I'm
Thanks for
more,
having me on.
I'm more sing-songy because I just enjoyed the book so much. So at the time of recording, it's not out for a few weeks still, but can you I'm pretty sure that's right. Yeah. Can you tell us what Two Can Play That Game is all about?
So, Two Can Play That Game is a YA rom-com about a Malaysian Australian teen, Sam Koo, who's just graduated from high school and wants to be a full-time game developer. So, a super rare ticket to a game design workshop is what she needs to kickstart her career. So, when an auntie's son, Jay Chua, sneakily grabs the last ticket, it's war. So, using the power of the Asian Gossip Network, Sam issues him with an ultimatum: 5 games, 5 rounds, one winner. But maybe this competitive game that they find themselves in also has a cooperative mode. So it's kind of like a love letter to indie video games,
Yeah.
escape rooms, supportive Asian families, and of course, meddling Asian aunties and uncles, as you do.
I have already read and loved the book, but you just like sold it to me again. I'm just like, it's so
Yes.
good. That was a really good sell. I feel like we could just end the interview now. Please go read Two Can Play That Game.
Nice,
So
bye.
amazing. I also especially love that it's set just after high school because I feel like in YA it's such a tumultuous time, but it's never really we don't really read about it too much. So I extra appreciate that time. Um, can you tell us a little bit about where the inspiration came from? Because I realized after reading your acknowledgements, there are so many similarities between you and Sam. So can you talk about where you drew the inspiration from and how personal is the story?
I mean, what? Self-insert?
We love it.
Oh, but I do actually, like use my books and stuff to process a lot of things going on in my life, like whether it's contemporary or fantasy or all of that. So this kind of came from a place where I'd been writing for a lot of years, querying for a lot of years, and it was just rejection after rejection. I mean, there was even a book that I'd been really hopeful for, where I'd gotten into a mentorship program with it, all of that, lots of full requests. Again, it didn't pan out. And so this book was written right after it came at a point where it was stemming from a kind of desperation, this quiet desperation, and this sense of, my gosh, my writing will never be good enough, or at least question mark, question mark. And so I wrote this one, I guess more for me. At this point, I was like, I'm going to make it fun. I'm going to make it funny because how else do you process sad stuff than making jokes out of it?
Yeah.
And so this is where this book kind of it came from that place, but also because I wanted to, I guess, also process it from a distance. And I love video games. I love them so much. They're a big part of my life. And I thought, you know what? Let me just share my love of video games with the world while we are at it.
Absolutely. Um, so I really related to Sam because she is a creator and that desperation that you were talking about, she has as well. I have as well. I feel like every creator ever is going to have this feeling because you want to create for yourself, but you also want to share it with the world, and there's just so many gatekeepers for that. I was wondering if you had to do a lot of research into like coding games because there's enough for us to understand because like I know nothing, so it's not too heavy on it. But did you have to do your research?
I had to do some. I also have some idea about coding because when I did my degree way back in uni, don't ask when is way back, I did mechatronic engineering. So there was like, there was still like some coding and all of that kind of stuff involved. So I had a basic idea. Thankfully, my best friend is also a software engineer. She doesn't make games. I mean, she's dabbled in a few just for fun, but she's a software engineer. So I was like, tell me, how does this, have I gotten this right? All that kind of thing. And I think the biggest point of research that I did was actually less about the coding itself and more about what is the indie development game cycle like for games?
Mm,
How does it go? How do you, get your games out there? All of that. And I was really lucky in that I got to go to PAX, Penny Arcade Expo, which is one of the biggest gaming conventions in Australia, for those who don't know of it. And I pretty much, when I go there, I'm always on the show floor with the indie games and all that, all the new ones coming out.
yeah.
And so I just asked a lot of questions of a lot of really nice people who were thankfully willing to talk to me.
Oh, that is so, so cool. I need to go to one of those. I feel like it would just blow my mind to be playing all these like demos and people have just created them themselves. Like I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yes, there's so many small studios doing really cool stuff and trying to like push the boundaries and stuff. It's so much fun to see. Ooh, what can I expect next year?
Oh my God, amazing. I would love to go to something like that. I'm gonna try. Um, okay, so I want to carry on with the video games, but I'm just gonna step back for a second. So this is your debut novel, and I think it is so easy to see a novel being advertised as a debut, and you're like, oh, this person's come out of nowhere. Look at this, you know. But you just mentioned that you've been writing for years. You did mentorship programs. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about a bit more about your journey and how you kept going when it felt like it was an impossible task.
Well, I wrote my very first novel, I think it was something like 12 years ago. So I just graduated from uni. Wow, that shows my age. That's fine. So it was a terrible NaNoWriMo effort. Your first
Oh,
ever thing that you've
yes.
probably written as a whole novel. But in the end, so I scrapped it, rewrote it totally, and then I started querying it because baby writer me was like, this is awesome. Surely this will
Right,
do.
you're like, how hard
You
can
know,
it be? I've written something, let's go.
no, the world's gonna love it because it's amazing. Look, spoiler alert, it was not amazing. I mean, there's still elements I love, but ooh, baby writer. So, and then the novel after that one was written to prove that I could actually do it again. That it was not a fluke that I'd written an entire novel and could do it with a new concept.
Yeah.
So rinse and repeat another few times where I was learning about voice and plot and all of that. Um, so I wrote the one right before this was a YA fantasy that I was really hopeful for. It got into Author Mentor Match, which is a mentorship
Incredible.
program where you submit your works, and if one of the mentors looks at it, loves it, wants to mentor you, then you get to work with them. They'll give you feedback, and it's really helpful to have that kind of thing from someone who's further along than you in the process.
Yes.
So yeah, so I did that. Made a lot of friends through it as well, like just the people you meet through that. We're still good friends to this day. I'm still really close friends with my mentor as well. She's amazing. Shout out to Phoebe.
Yes.
And yeah, so I was just like, this has got to be it. And I did um pitch events where you kind of pitch your where you just pitch your thing through a pitch your manuscript, generally on Twitter, that kind of thing. And so that I got a lot of interest, a lot of full requests, nothing panned out. That querying, there's a lot of interest in the fulls, but then people would read it and it just wouldn't really go anywhere. So that was really rough. And after that, that's where this book came in. So it's been a lot of books. It's been a lot of trying, failing. And I think in the end, all you can do is not give up. I think, like, just keep writing because I think the thing that lots of people don't really acknowledge is how much luck is involved as well. Like, yes, there's so much hard work and sweat and all of that, but there is also so much luck in, are you connecting with the right person at that time? Did you find them? Are they in this? are they like when it comes to agents or editors, are they in the right spot to be like, my gosh, you love different books at different points in your life, and agents and editors are no different. And it's just like, are you finding them? Are they in that right place? Are you connecting with them? Do you have a book that's hot on the market right now? Market forces you can't really control. If you write to market, it'll probably be too late. All of that. But what you can do is be prepared, right? For when all those things come together. Keep writing what you love, especially.
Absolutely.
Put them, put all the things on the table, and then when the time comes, when all these things do come together, then you'll be ready. Like I connected with my agent through a pitch event with this book. There wasn't much interest. There wasn't anywhere near as much as my previous book, but this was the one that got the agent offers. And I think it was also part of, I mean, I think the book is good, but market forces again. Like more diaspora stories coming out. This one being a more joyful story at a time when I
Yes,
guess people were looking for that, all of that kind of thing that you can't.
absolutely. Oh my God, it's the joyfulness that wins me over every time. I love it so much. We need more of it. Um, I think actually it's such a good segue into my next question because you just talked about the diaspora. And that's something that Sam and her sister go through because they are from Malaysian family, but they grew up in Australia and, they find themselves between those two cultures. And I think that we are very, very, very slowly but surely seeing more Australian YA come out with the diaspora experience in it. Um, so, what are you hoping that younger readers take away from your book? And what are you hoping to see more of about these experiences in the future?
So I think for kids who are part of the diaspora, all of that, I want to normalize seeing us as protagonists in the story. I want that to just be yeah, of course, that's how it is. Because I didn't grow up with that many. The first books I wrote were about, like red, special redhead, or, brown haired, very non-diaspora protagonists, basically. And it was good. Like, I mean, it was a story for what it was, but none of it really reflected that. And I never really thought about, hey, someone like me could be the protagonist. And I'd like that to be a lot more normalized for kids like that, reading books like this, or, a lot of other diaspora stories, like whether it's, Vanessa Len stuff, or Wise, or Rebecca Limbs, or all of those. Um, yeah, it'd be amazing to just have that canon out there for them.
100%.
So for those who are not diaspora, like I'd love to just give them the experience of, other cultures and understanding how it changes how we see the world and, why we do things the way we do, are allowed, aren't allowed to do certain things, all of that. Um, in terms of what I would love to see in the variety of in sorry, in terms of what I would like to see more of in the future, I'd love to see just more variety of diaspora experiences. Like I said before, I think just a wider canon because like my experience is only one out of so many and everyone's is really, really different. And I'd love to be able to just be like, and here's a whole range of I guess in this case, Malaysian Australian experiences, and they're very different. Or, like Indian Australian or Vietnamese or whatever it is. Like, I would just love to be able to just be like, take your pick. There's so many different ones for whoever you are. And I think also just to see more stories where it's about us just existing, doing everyday life and less about like dealing with what it is to be diaspora or the experience, but it's just woven into it. Like they go home, they have rice at night because that's what you do.
And honestly, Two Can Play That Game did that so, so seamlessly. Like, it's just, I think Sam just felt so real because I was just like hanging out with her, just watching her do her own thing, and I'm learning so much. Like, I did not know that Asian gossip network was a thing. I love that so much, and the traditional drink that she makes with Jane Anson. Yeah, it was I learned so much and I think we need so many more of them. So you're so right. And I hope we see more of them in the future. But yeah, two can play that game. It was so just did it so well. So well.
Thank
Okay.
you.
We're gonna nerd out. Here we go. I want to talk about video games.
Yes, let's
um
go.
just because and I think even if you don't, you know, if you're watching this and you're not a big video game fan, two can play that game will probably blow your mind because I love that you have the little graphic cards that explain, well, and Sam and Jay explain the games as well. These little graphic cards, and you just learn that they're not like Call of Duty, bang bang, you know, first person shooter games. There are so many beautiful games that focus on storytelling and music and graphics. And I just don't think that's understood enough. And I think there's still a lot of stigma around people who play video games, especially girls, like how Sam and Anishka really really feel that. Um, so I want to know what you think about video games, like what they lend to the storytelling medium, and what you wish people knew more about them.
Well, I think games have just come so far from the early days. And like you said, there's so much more than, just bang, bang, run around, shoot things,
Yeah.
or, Fortnite
Thank
style
God.
or Minecraft, what have you. Like, they're awesome in their own ways. They have their own audience. They're popular for a reason, but there's so much more variety out there, especially indie games, which I find they tend to push the envelope as to what gameplay can be. So they're closer to works of art, really, is what I'd call them. And I know
Yes.
people will be like, she's exaggerating. It's not a Picasso. And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
see
Go look
that
up Hollow
in their
Knight.
own.
Like they're beautiful.
Oh, yes. That was perfect. Like, I do not play platformers because I suck at them and I'm terrible and I die constantly. But Hollow Knight, the art and the music,
Oh.
and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to play this anyway and sunk 100 hours into it.
Yes.
And, I think in terms of the games themselves, what they lend the storytelling medium, it's the uniqueness of the medium in its interactivity. And I find like the best games take advantage of what that additional interactiveness offers to tell a story or convey a kind of story, convey feelings, convey what has happened. For example, there's a game called Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, where you're controlling two brothers, one on each controller. And there's a certain bit of gameplay at the very end, no spoilers, but it really drives the story home where it just kind of stabs you through the heart and makes you cry just because of how it uses that mechanic of the two controllers, one controlling each brother.
Oh my gosh.
And like in terms of storytelling, I mean, Gone Home is a classic, but you're exploring a house that's empty where you kind of like come home and you're trying to work out where is everyone, what's happened. And it's a masterpiece in environmental storytelling. How do you use the things around you to tell a story, to convey things that have happened, to convey history, all of that. It actually inspired me to try a short story that was literally just environmental. Didn't quite work out, but it was a lot of fun to try.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that there's just so much that, they do have to offer to storytelling as well. And I hope that people who are going into going like, oh, games, will give it a go. Give indie games a go if you need recommendations. I have so many. There's just so many different mechanics, and it's amazing what they've done, honestly.
Mm. And if you pick
Phenomenal.
up Two Can Play That Game, there are some recommendations at the end. So there you go. I think I actually was one of those people for so long that was like, ooh, video games, because I'd only ever known of like first person shooters or um, movie and TV show spin-offs like Pixar. I mean, I just told you I'm literally playing How to Train Your Dragon one at the moment. But when I was a kid, that's all they were. So I think it was not until a few years ago that I played The Witcher. And I was like, this is a story. This is like reading a novel, but with music and visuals. And it's like a really good detailed TV show that you get to control. That probably sounds really dumb, but and they're so inspiring too. And I feel like it's really helpful in your own storytelling because it's like in video games to make them, you know, last as long as they do, things always go wrong or like there's always something you have to do. And I think it's really good storytelling techniques in building conflict and tension and things like that. So very helpful.
Definitely. Like, I mean, I had a similar story. It's just that mine started earlier because I was lucky enough to have a cousin who was into video games. He introduced me to Final Fantasy VII back in high school, and I'm like, this story,
Yeah.
this music, this all, what is this? And it was like the video game that spawned a ton of fanfics. No comment.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
love, yeah, I felt like that with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's the first and only Zelda game I've played, but you just like dumped in this world where there's been a war and there's ruins, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. This what happened here? And you're just completely drawn in, and yeah, many lessons of storytelling learned, which I absolutely love.
yes.
Okay, so we've spoken about, you know, Two Can Play That Game has the video games, it has the escape rooms, it has relationships, it has diaspora, all together in a beautiful package. So, what are you hoping that readers take away from the story once they close the book?
Um, I think in a way this was also written for teen Leanne. But I would love them to just remember as well, there isn't only one path forward, you know? Life is messy. What seems important now, like for example, maybe your grades, how you did on the HSC, what uni course you got into, all that kind of thing. They're things that odds are you might probably look back on in the future and be like, you know what, wasn't as big a deal as I thought. There's so many more options out there. This one thing will not decide my entire future, you know? I remember being there and it felt so much like that. It felt that way. And I just really hope that that's one of the things that, they take away from it. Also, that it's okay and that it is important to, spend some time relaxing, that you don't have to be fully focused, that you are enough if you're, even if you're not just, I'm doing this 24/7 and that's all I'm doing because this is my dream. It's okay. And, you can let yourself be supported by others. It's a good thing, believe it or not.
I'm so glad you said
Oh,
that.
and also,
Oh, sorry. Yep.
I'm sorry. No, 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 you go.
I was just gonna say, I'm just glad that you summed it up with that because that was my favorite part. That was my best takeaway. I was gonna bring it up, and I was like, I don't know if it's like a spoiler or not, but yeah, that was my takeaway as well. It was beautiful.
We'll add there's also tips on how to avoid being pinged by the Asian Gossip Network. And also that I guess escape rooms are really good and you should go to them.
Yes, Leanne here is modeling one of the escape rooms in Sydney. Yeah, so everyone go check it
Yes.
out. Oh my
It's like
gosh.
shameless plug the next level escape, but honestly, I'm just here because I've got to run a game after this.
Absolutely. But maybe if you are still umming and ahhing about video games, go check out an escape room. And there we go. Just have fun. Thank you so much for chatting with me today, Leanne. In case you could not tell, I really enjoyed Two Can Play That Game, and I hope that everyone loves it as much as I did.
Thank you so much for having me on, and it's so lovely talking to you.